All right, let's go ahead and just open it up with a quick statement on practice today. Back to work again, getting ready for Washington.
Yeah, it's good to be able to have some practice reps with the group we haven't practiced with for majority of our season, tightening up our defensive schemes, working on some offensive execution, and understanding the value in these days and our preparation. So today, overall, good day, and um, ready to tighten it all up for tomorrow. Get ready for DC.
Great, let's go ahead and open it up to questions. If you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand. I think prior to us starting, Jeff Brown had a question. Jeff, are you ready to go?
Sure thing. I guess what have been the primary goals with these practices?
Definitely to make sure that we stay on point with our um, defensive schemes, whether it's, I thought that we had a very good fourth quarter defensively against New York, understanding shrink spots, rotations, fundamentals basically. And then, offensively, always a kind of combination of making sure our skill set is good with shooting, and then obviously our offensive execution where we can kind of make adjustments and getting players a little bit more opportunities, open looks, and just making sure we're just in sync on both sides of the ball.
And then I think it's been about maybe like 5 or 6 games now that Jewel has not scored 20 points. And I think only one of those games she's had 15 or more. Is there any concern there? Do you think that was like a delayed fatigue from the Olympics and then also having to kind of carry the team a little bit more when Sue and Stewie were out for those 2 games? And then how do you how do you coach her through that to kind of get back into her normal shooting motions?
Definitely some fatigue there. If you think about her not having a chance to kind of catch her breath a little bit and the load that she carried on the road, but I am so impressed what she's done defensively. And so it doesn't worry me as much as she's affecting the game somehow. I would kind of be concerned if she wasn't giving us on the defensive end, but the way in which her intensity level, the way in which she was picking up Serena full court, getting through screens and making an impact, crashing the O boards, it's the little intangibles that are happening that she's doing, maybe not noticeable in the stat sheet with offensive wise, but the impact that she's made defensively helps keep me, I guess, less concerned about it and understanding like her mindset is, hey, maybe I'm not scoring, but I'm going to find another way to make sure I put my imprint on this game. And she's doing that.
And then I believe I heard on the TV broadcast that Jordan's knee injury wasn't like super serious. Is it a scenario where she could be back before the playoffs, or is the hope right now just that she is back for the playoffs?
Definitely a day-to-day, understanding that, all injuries, we have to take precaution. And I think with her, it'll be a matter of how we can increase her by the day and what her pain threshold is. I'm not concerned about re-injuring the knee, but more so making sure that she's healthy for this last stretch. So it's not like a week thing. It's more so like a day-to-day thing, which is, I think, encouraging.
Definitely. And then I guess probably just last one for me. I guess keys against Washington here coming up in that game.
For sure, protecting the 3-point line. Understanding that, the last time they came here, they shot 38 of them, and I believe made 16 of them. So that's going to be huge. Tina Charles is a key matchup for us, making sure that we are engaged on that side of the ball with her, not letting her get loose. And then on the end of the ball of the floor, offensively for us, teams are switching a lot with Stewie and kind of scheming in that way. So just opening up the floor a little bit more, being a little bit more deliberate, like we were with New York, with our offensive pace, space, and movement.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's my last. All right, thanks, Jeff. Let's go to Jackie Powell. Jackie, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Nice to see you. This is Jackie Powell with Bleacher Report. I'm doing a story about the history of WNBA rivalries and sort of what we're going to see coming up. I guess past and present. And so what I want to ask you is, obviously amid this 25th celebration and whatnot, what do you see as some of the potential rivalries that are bubbling now that can help propel the league into its next 25 years?
Wow. It's interesting because when you said rivalry, obviously you guys know I've been a fan of the W since it started, and I always think of the Houston, New York battles. I think I was a Sparks fan, so LA, New York at some point as well. Rivalries, I think for this season, it's interesting because, back in the, I don't want to say back in the day, that was like it's so long ago. They were in the Eastern and Western Conference, and we've kind of gone away from that. And so that rivalry doesn't quite stick out with Eastern Conference championships and things of that nature. So, I mean, I think about us battling Phoenix in 2018 and that rivalry there that kind of developed on social media as well. I know they have, we go at it with Phoenix. I think about, I don't know, you put me on the spot. Minnesota, Vegas, that's one that's kind of been brewing, battle of the bigs, Sylvia and Liz. You think about, you got something for me, Jeff? Us in DC at some point, in the conference, in the championship, obviously DC won it in 2019 and we were right there with them and they were right there with us in 2018. I'm throwing our team in a lot of rivals because that's kind of firsthand knowledge, I should say. LA Phoenix is always a good rival because Taurasi being in LA, years prior going against Candace Parker, the Queen of LA, via Chicago. Connecticut is obviously they've been in a lot of close, games and semifinals and things of that nature within the last few years. So I'm sure they have a rival in the East, so to speak, maybe with DC. But I just think about like the regional rivals as well as the rivals that have happened because of our playoff format that have kind of evolved over the years, but kind of nothing like the Eastern and Western like we've seen previously. But it's cool to see the evolution of where this league is going with our rivalry stuff.
So I really appreciate that answer. I do. And no worries for being like, oh, I'm on the spot. I appreciate all of that. What's interesting though, is based on the reporting I've done, what I'm understanding is that when conferences were taken away, it was sort of, it made the potential for rivalries, I guess, less, I don't know if I want to say less apparent, but it sort of put it on hold. And so I guess what I also want to learn from you is, generally, why really are rivalries important in getting a league like the WNBA, to grow, to be on the same stage as other leagues?
Yeah, I think it's the fan engagement, obviously understanding that our fans love to support their teams, but also it creates new fans out of maybe people who don't know our league as well, just to see great basketball, see great basketball on TV, see these women playing hard and putting their heart on the line every, game that's important for, viewership purposes. And then, it's the enjoyment of the game as well. I think we have a league full of competitors. And so you add that extra incentive of, hey, we have something brewing up as a rivalry. I think, you think UCLA, USC, like you, no matter what was happening during that season, when we played the Trojans, like that's a big game. So I think just kind of, extra motivation as a player and as a, organization for that game and particularly, but around that game, just the excitement that it can bring and viewership, I should say, first and foremost, but with our fans, like having that engagement as well.
Absolutely. The final one for me on this, I just want to clarify, you said a rivalry between y'all and the Mercury. Is that sort of because you've got Sue against Diana? You've got the friends going against each other. Are there any other reasons for that one, or is that sort of the main idea there?
I think so. You know, apart from, Phoenix and Seattle probably playing a lot of games because of the nature, the history of our league, going from Western Conference. But yeah, in general, those are two the best friends who, when they get on the floor, they act as if they are enemies in that way. Not enemies, but, they're very competitive. And so I think that is another huge reason. You think back to when it was Sue, Lauren Jackson, Tanisha Wright, Camilla Swin Cash, like against Diana Penny Taylor, Cabby, Shangela Smith, like that was brewing. They played against each other often. And so there's so little intricacies about those matchups that make it rivalries for sure.
Thank you. I really
No
appreciate it.
problem.
All right, thanks, Jackie. And let's go to M. Adler to wrap things up. M, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I wanted to ask a question about Jordan. I'm writing about Jordan Canada. Just wanted to list a very dumb stat I found. The only players with her career usage rate, steal rate, and foul rate are better is Cheryl Swoops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I guess sort of going off of that, I wanted to ask. She obviously brings a unique skill set. I'm wondering what sort of advantages or trickiness, I guess, advantages or challenges it presents to you to sort of bring that into the lineup, and then what her development like that has been over the years to help that.
Definitely has the pace of a young athlete. Just watching Jordan on the floor, like her ability to get up and down, to get to the paint and open up the floor for our shooters in particular. Defensively, understanding that she has an ability to pressure on ball, but also what she does off the ball, getting steals, getting deflections, getting her hands on a lot of balls. And you just think of how she can impact the game on both sides of the floor, which would probably make that usage rate apparent, you know what I mean? And, we talk about Jordan and she's year 4, but she's won 2 championships already. And so the understanding that we're talking about a young player who probably still, we're at a very early stage of her career and will continue to grow. But what we've seen so far from her is, you know, uh, uh, I feel like a knack for, just playing hard, understanding her role on this team has kind of been up and down, not the same every year, but just being professional about it. Um, and to me, growing every year and not only on the floor, but in her maturity of understanding what it takes to be a professional.
Gotcha. And then just wanted to finish up a quick question about Katie Lou. A friend and I were recently looking at sort of some film and her shot, and it looked like there was I don't know if so it looked like her shot maybe like has a hitch in it, or something with the footwork that wasn't necessarily there at UConn. I was just wondering if that's necessarily something that you've noticed, or if we're just making that up.
I'm not sure. I do notice her mechanics, and I did watch her in college, but I hadn't compared from college because it's been some time now, and that'll be interesting to kind of compare that. I watch her every day knock down shots, you know what I mean? And so sometimes with players, it's not, especially in season, you don't want to tweak anything, especially, if you see the consistency within practice and things of that nature. So that's a great question. That's something that I probably have to kind of research myself just to see maybe, it happens over time. And sometimes you have to just kind of reset but maybe it's something that she saw as she got older, a little bit more stronger that she needed to add to her shot. So I'm not sure. That's a good research topic for me to see if there's any difference in that.
Sure. Well, thanks. I appreciate your time.
Thanks. Yeah.
All right, thanks, everybody. We'll have Katie Lou in here in just a minute. All right, we're here with Katie Lou. And we'll go ahead and start things off. Em, why don't you kick us off here?
Oh, I still have my hand raised. Great. Hey, Katie, I'll start off with so me and a person I know writes about basketball and especially like biomechanics a lot. I was wondering, I know your shot looks a little different than it did at UConn. I was wondering if there was some stop along the way, Chicago, Dallas, where you would sort of worked on mechanics or tried to adjust things.
No, I feel like my shot's the same, so.
Oh, cool. That's great. And then I wanted to ask sort of, you're playing more minutes, especially recently with at the 4, Stewie at the 5, that lineup, you guys played a lot against the Liberty. Just wondering what your adjustments are to playing in that way. Obviously different defensive assignments, different spacings.
Yeah, I think, during that game, I don't necessarily think, we knew going into that was the lineup that was going to be in at the end, but with how the game went, going a little smaller, I guess, worked out for us, and we were able to space the floor to give Stewie a lot more space and kind of prevent them from being able to, kick that guard out anytime it was a one-on-one matchup for her. So we were able to spread the floor really well, and I don't know if that's going to be a normal occurrence or if it's just going to go whatever happens.
Oh, sure. Great. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Em. Let's go to Jackie Powell.
Hey, Katie Lou. Nice to see you. So I'm writing a story for Bleacher Report about WNBA rivalries. And so, I know you've been in the league for a few years, but I need more of the younger players' perspective because I've spoken to coaches, I've spoken to veteran players. And so getting the younger players' perspective is really important. So I'm curious to know, in the years that you've been in this league, what type of rivalries have you seen sort of bubbling and emerging?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the rivalry I always knew about was LA, Minnesota. Before I got into the league, it was like they were battling always head to head, and I'm from Los Angeles, and so I kind of followed along there. So I don't know too much about rivalries, and now with the setup of the league, I feel like it's just kind of a battle all around. I don't know if other people have different opinions than me, but I don't necessarily see like those specific rivalries that I feel like there may have been before or there has like traditionally in the NBA. I think, the WNBA is always changing and growing right now, where we haven't seen, from day one a consistent one, but I'm sure there's been multiple that I am not touching on.
No, I appreciate that. And that's a common response that I've been getting, which is since conferences were sort of slashed for the playoff format, it's been a little bit harder to see those types of things forming. I mean, something I think about is I think about Chicago and Vegas. You had the Hamby Heave, but I guess the issue was that, well, huh?
I was there for that.
Yes, you were. And so I think the issue is that maybe there isn't this consistency each year. So it's like that huge thing happened, but they're not being put to play each other consistently in those types of, I guess, opportunities. Is that something that you might think is part of why there isn't anything that's very, I guess, obvious at the moment?
I mean, yeah, I think, to be honest, since joining Seattle, it feels like Seattle versus everyone. So that's one thing I felt in this, that we're going to get everyone's best game no matter what. But yeah, I think that's part of it. I just think there's been a lot of talent and different teams at the top for the past, couple years, different people in the finals. And like with that, and still there's only 12 teams still too. So it's like I don't know, I feel like that all contributes to part of why there's not specific rivalries, but I would say not having conferences maybe is a big thing. You know, we don't end up meeting the same West Coast teams to make it to the final. Like, you play everyone different, and there is such a variety, like I said, of teams that have been kind of coming up. And like Vegas, I feel like shot quickly to being contenders and like playing in the finals and stuff like that, whereas they weren't really, they're at the bottom of the pack a couple years before. So it's just a lot of great players and a lot of ups and downs.
That's fair. And the final one for me is, yes, I do want to get that Seattle perspective a little bit. This whole idea of everyone is, or is there really a feeling where it's like all the teams are sort of not out to get y'all? I think you phrased it better than I am. But if you could explain sort of that feeling to me, where, you know, you're getting other teams' best games.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I personally feel, that's, you know, people come in and they want to beat Seattle. They want to beat the reigning champs. And, you know, last year in the bubble, they kind of just destroyed everyone in their path. And so now this year, people are fighting to get a crack at us. And I think, you know, for me just joining, I can really see that. And, you know, why wouldn't you? You're going to play as hard as you can. And even with, you know, there's other top teams as well that I'm sure always get the same effort too. But it's kind of a similar feeling sometimes to when, you know, everyone wanted to beat UConn kind of thing. It was like you were getting the best game no matter what. And so it's just for me, there's been similar feelings since I've joined this team compared to the other teams I've been on.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Jackie. And Jeff Brown, let's wrap things up.
Hey, Katie Lou, since you guys were just talking about it, I have to ask, what was your reaction during the Hamby heave when that happened? And what was the locker room like for Chicago after that game?
The heave, I mean, I think everyone had the same reaction. It was like, how in the heck did, you know, that decision to shoot a half-court shot with 7 seconds left win them the game? So it was just kind of unreal. Even in the locker room, I feel after, you know, it was very devastating. We had a really good season, and we felt like we had a good chance to keep going. So it was devastating.
Definitely. And then now that we're almost at the end of the regular season here in Seattle, how do you compare this season for you compared to your first 2 years in Chicago and Dallas?
For me personally, I feel more like myself than I have in a while on the court. And I've really, you know, enjoyed playing in this system and this type of offense, defense. I think we really focus on, you know, team dynamic, team defense, team offense. And for me, I feel more comfortable playing in that. And I think it's shown a little more comfortability out there, but you know, I like playing with these guys. I like fighting with them every single day. And I think we have a good chance going forward to, you know, win every game we play in. And so we're going to keep that mindset and take it one game at a time.
Awesome. And then I don't think I had a chance to ask you, like, did the team come to you before signing Carly, or how did you find out about that? And how was your reaction when they announced that they had signed your sister?
I had kind of heard from a few people that, like, you know, we might sign Carly, but they were still trying to figure it out, because I was the one that was actually saying that her 7-day was up, and I wasn't saying it as in like, her 7 days up, sign her. But I was just like kind of talking about it. And I think with how everything worked out, it was just, you know, we were kind of right place, right time. Also, she happened to be traveling where we were. So it was like just a perfect situation. And we found out through, you know, we had the same agent. And so, like, with all that stuff, that it was in the works. And then 24 hours later, she was on the team.
Awesome. And then is she staying with you, or have you been able to like give her a tour of the city, or like, you know, spending time together and stuff like that?
Yeah, she has her own apartment, but we have hung out every day, and I have tried to show her some of the city. We're going a little bit more in depth today because our oldest sister is in town visiting, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome. And then I think last one for me is what has been your favorite drill for practice this season, and your least favorite drill?
Honestly, I really enjoy our practices. I think they're very like to the point, like get things done and do what you need to do. But I think my favorite is just when we kind of like go up and down and do like stop, score, stop. It's just a live playing. And then least favorite drill. I don't know. We don't have any bad drills. I think like I said, everything has a purpose in practice, and that makes it a lot easier as a player to like be engaged always.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie Lou.
Thank you.
Media availability, would that be it?
Yeah, media availability is my least favorite drill.
Ouch.
All right, thanks, everybody. We appreciate your
Thank you,
patience,
guys.
and we'll see y'all later.
Thank you.